hands. Again, this may not have a direct bearing. I am just trying to point out that the scheme which is under consideration of your lordship is not an isolated attempt, but is a part of a series of attempts made, whereby now more clean money is available because of the digitized payment. We have approximately 750 million mobile internet users who now your lordships are aware, banking is done through mobile internets. And we are adding one new internet user every 3 seconds.
Yes.
Now, after going through the history, your lordships would find out, my lord, I'll be able to satisfy your lordships, or attempt to satisfy your lordships, that each and every word used in the scheme is very consciously used, and what they called anonymity or opaqueness is neither anonymity nor opaqueness, but is a confidentiality by design. And why, how, what is the justification, what is the rationale behind it, I'll be able to explain. Lord, legality of the scheme is entirely for your lordships, my lord, to consider and decide with whatever best assistance we can provide. But one thing, my lord, I'll be able to satisfy your lordships, that if the element of confidentiality goes from this scheme, the scheme goes, and we are back to 2018 regime, and I'm going to show that regime, my lord. And your lordships would like to ask the petitioners what benefit you will get if the country were to go 10 steps backwards. And I have the facts and figures with me. Lord, unfortunately, the petitioner, one of the petitioners, my lord, that is ADR, has placed all its reports on record, except one which is the most crucial. Lord, as a passing remark, my lord, without making an issue out of it. Generally, when you are approaching the court in public interest, you place everything which assists the court. You don't place something on which you wish to argue. Anyway, my lord, my written submissions, volume 2A, page 102. Lord, please see the position we will be back at if this scheme is to be, my lord, interfered with as prayed by the petitioners. This is, my lord, the report prepared by ADR, the petitioner before your lordships, based upon the figures published by the Election Commission of India. And my worry, the worry of the government and the worry of every citizen is that if this scheme goes, we go back to this regime. And what would be the transparency in this regime? What would be the national benefit to this regime? It's for the petitioner to explain. Lord, please see the highlights. Your lordships have, Lord, the title is Analysis of Sources of Funding of National and Regional Parties of India for accounting year 2004-5 to 2014-15, 11 years.
Which page number?
102, volume 2A of my written submissions, my lord. The right hand side top, just for identification, is ADR.
Yes, you know, volume
2A, my lord.
नंतर आलंय ते. आज सकाळी त्यांनी दिलं.
Volume 2A, my lords.
मिळालं तुला?
My Lord Justice Gawai got that one? My Lord Justice Padiwala has got that. Justice Michelle. Yes, yes, I have no. Lord, one thing is very clear. Lordships made very clear that your Lordships are not examining whether there can be a political contribution or not per se. The question is how, whether this scheme is legal or not. That's a wider question, Manoj. That's not arising here. But ADR has also accepted that there is an element of money involved in the contesting elections, running a political party, running several other activities by the political parties, etc. Lord, kindly read all these figures with one caveat in mind, that these are the figures declared by the political parties voluntarily and published by the Election Commission.
102.
Everything may not have been declared. I'll not pitch it higher than this. This is what is declared, and the figures are shocking. Any interference, my lord, in the scheme takes us back to this position. Please see, political parties play a key role in democracies as they contest elections, form governments, formulate policies, and are responsible for providing governance and improve the lot of the common man. Your lordships can skip the rest. Please come to the highlights. Highlights. This is, my lord, again reported money, my lord.
What's the date of this report? It's
The
24
date is 24th of January 2017, but the period is 2004-5 to 2014-15. Different, my lord, formulation in the central government. My lord, this would also meet with one of the arguments, my lord, very vehemently raised, that look, the ruling party gets the maximum benefit. That has always been the trend from the beginning. You can't help it. 2004 to 2015, there was a different ruling party in power. Now, please see this. The contribution statement submitted by the political parties declare, your lordships are on the highlights. My Lord Justice Gawai has done. The contribution statement submitted by political parties declaring names and other details of donors who contribute above rupees 20,000 are the only known sources of income of the political parties. The unknown sources are income declared in the IT returns, but without giving source of income for donations below rupees 20,000. Such unknown sources include sale of coupons. This is done by the CPIM, Mr. Farasad's client. Ajivan Sahyog Nidhi, Relief Fund, miscellaneous income, voluntary contributions, contribution for meetings, morchas, etc. The details of donors of such voluntary contributions are not available in public domain. Other known sources of income include sale of immovable properties. Your lordships can skip that. Kindly come, my lord. Next, total income. Your lordship gets that, my lord. Rest is not relevant, my lord, for either of us. Total income of national and regional political parties between financial year 2004-5 and 14-15 is rupees 11,367.34 crores. Total income of political parties from known donors, details of donors as available from contribution reports submitted by parties. They may not have, my lord, submitted all. And black money was in vogue during that period for all political parties. Rupees only 15% of the total income. Now, total income of political parties from unknown sources, income specified in the IT rules whose sources are unknown, rupees 7 crore, 7,832.98 crores, which is 69% of the total income of the parties. Now, please see, my lord, national parties, my lord, the chart your lordship says, the second column of the chart, my lords have the chart. National parties, rupees 6,612 crores, income from unknown sources. My lord, what is this unknown sources? I'll just tell you, lordships. My lord, my lord, before your lordship goes through, my lord, further, my lord, one clarification would be very, very relevant. My lord, may I complete that first, or my lord, just clarification? My lord, every political party needs clean money also, because they have to show expenditure for the purpose of rallies, this, that, and others. How do they do that? And some other shocking details will come. Lord, I deposit 100 crores as a political party, saying that so many thousand people donated 19,000 rupees to me each. If it is less than 20,000, I'm not supposed to disclose his identity. So the cash which I received, I'm showing as unknown sources income, the donation in the form of individuals who have supposedly given me 19,000. That is, and no record is required under the law, because 19,000, there is no record required. This is the amount, my lord, which is 69%. National parties is 6,612 crores, and regional parties 1 crore 220.56 crores. Then income from known sources. Please see, my lord, substantially less.
Mehta, just one question here. This 11,367 crores is as per the income tax returns?
Yes.
So they'll be over and above that?
Over and above. Therefore, my lord, I say that whenever your lordship reads these figures, please bear that caveat.
This figure which is taken out by the ADR is not what they perceive as the actual income.
Cannot.
What is
In the contribution reports.
in the contribution reports, in the income tax report.
It is what is disclosed by the political parties to the election commission. Therefore, I started with a caveat that your lordships may bear in mind. These are declared figures.
There's one issue. The figures therefore you are showing us over with regard to 69% are those 20,000. Less than 20,000, which has now been reduced to 2,000.
Maybe to some extent they may have given names also. But
No,
largely
they wouldn't have given. They wouldn't have given those names. That 20,000 figure after 2017, I think, has come down to 2,000. That's been reduced to 2,000. So this is a position.
position of all political parties. Now, your lordships may kindly, my lord, for the time being, ignore the diagram and come to, my lord, the written part. Political parties with maximum income from unknown sources. During the 11 years between 2004-5 and 14-15, 83% of total income of so-and-so, amounting to rupees 332.39 CR, and 65% of total income of so-and-so, amounting to rupees 2,125 crore, came from unknown sources. We were grappling with this situation when this scheme was conceived. Among the regional parties, rupees 766.27 crore, or 94% of the total income of so-and-so party, and 88.06 crore, or 86% of the total income of so-and-so party came from unknown sources. Now, your lordships may kindly come to page 105, observations of ADR. 104, I'm sorry, page 104.
Recommendations?
Observations of ADR. Of 104, page 104, there's no page. Of the 51 regional political parties, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Considered for this report, I'm sorry, my lords are writing.
One more question. As the returns filed by the political parties in 29C are all uploaded on the website of the election.
They have taken from them only.
Of the Election Commission of India.
But as per ADR's own stated case, they have analyzed this based upon those reports.
Because the Income Tax Department will not reveal the details.
They can't give. They can't give. This is the Election Commission's website. That's their case also. Of 51 regional political parties considered for this report, 45 parties have not submitted their donation statements to ECI for at least one financial year. The 12 regional political parties which have never filed their contribution report since 2004 and 5 are, I'm not reading the names, I don't wish to make it political, I'm just pointing out this is the problem we were grappling with, which, my lord, eventually led us to examine, evaluate, and find out a solution. Then income tax returns or audit reports of national and regional parties were obtained by filing RTI applications with the income tax department. The income tax returns of 42 out of 51 regional parties analyzed were unavailable for at least one financial year. The information was either denied by the IT department, the parties had not filed their returns for the financial year, or the department were unable to trace the audit reports. Incomplete information was provided. Where possible, copies of audit reports were procured from the ECI. The income of national parties from unknown sources, please mark, my lord, increased by 313% from rupees 274.13 crore during financial year 4-5 to 1130 crores during financial year 14-15. The income of regional parties from unknown sources increased by 652% from rupees 37 crores during financial year 2004-5 to rupees 281 crore during financial year 2014 and 15. Among all the national and regional parties, please mark this, this is something very, very funny and something very, very alarming and shocking. Amongst all the national and regional parties considered, so-and-so is the only party to consistently declare receiving nil donation above rupees 20,000. They have not received any donation. Everything is below 20,000. Between financial year 2004-5 and 14-15, thus 100% of parties' donations came from unknown sources. The total income of the party increased by 2,057% from rupees 5.19 crore during financial year 4-5 to rupees 111.96 crore during 14-15. And this is as declared within 19,000. Now please come to page, my lord, 105. My lord, the argument that the scheme has benefited the ruling party. My lord, my respectful assistance to your lordship is this. More contribution going to the ruling party is the norm. That's the, I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr.
Lord, kindly see the third bullet point, detailed report your lordship would
Why
find.
is it, according to you, why is it the norm that the ruling party is making the substantial part of the donations? What's the reason for it?
I would not be able to hazard a guess, but the figures show that whoever was ruling party, either in the state or in the center, possibly, this is my
Well, no,
assistance.
gives with an expectation, right?
Yes, Lord, I'll just tell your lordships, my lord, how the things work. And this is my reply, not government's reply. My lord.
Yes.
This is my assistance to your lordships. Generally, Lord, every political party has their programs and policies, etc. They have their working style, which are distinct, and all people, my lord, they have confined their arguments to corporations or companies, but they are individuals, contractors, HUF, because HUF is also now a financing entity, etc. They know the working style. They know their business style. That if this party forms the government, it would be beneficial that we'll be able to be comfortable with them because there is less of red tapeism. Somewhere it is more of a red tapeism, etc., etc. Lord, what is running in the mind of the Lord, this donor, Lord, is not possible. But Lord, by and large, they decide based upon their interest. Obviously, Lord, They are not doing a charity. Let us, my lord, be not very idealistic the way they would like your lordships to be, my lord, while dealing with a very complex problem. Practically, they are also doing their own business and their decisions are business driven, or as we use the expression, it's a market driven. That uh, more powerful the leader, more cadre based the party, more chances of success. I feel that I'll be comfortable while doing my business, less corruption, more corruption. These are the factors based upon which, Lord, they donate. But your lordships may practically, my lord, keep one thing in mind. All big donations or big donors, whether individuals or others, trust or companies, etc., they donate to all parties who are relevant to them. The figures differ. And ultimately, I'll be able to show, after showing the history of this, that why black money was used to pay political contribution. Well, this is the bottom line of this scheme. Which the government has sought to address.
So Mehta, what you said can be one reason. The other reason is money circulation by the party themselves,
Money circulation.
by the parties themselves.
The party, my lord,
Because you don't have to give the details of any donor who is paid less than 20,000 rupees. So any money which is available within the party can be circulated. The unaccounted for money is circulated back into the system.
my lord, in this scheme it is not possible, but
No.
maybe, my lord, maybe. But I don't think, my lord, the party tends to gain by circulating, but
Only thing is because you have to show on table a particular level of expenses whenever you incur expenses, say in a rally or any other expense, certain expenses have to be shown. The second point which you are raising is relevant, obviously, these figures are relevant. The second point is these unaccounted or unaccounted for were in the transactions below the figure of 20,000, not in the higher. Already
not reported, my lord. I would put it. I can go and give 5 crores, but party may choose not to report.
That
Yes.
is possible. That is possible. But as far as the higher sums above 20,000 were concerned, they were all reported. They were already with details. The way reporting is with details because we saw some charts given to us. Most of the payments were reported. Above 20,000 payments are to be reported. Otherwise, it will be violation of the law.
Lord, the bottom line, no, I'll take your losses further, but the bottom line is this, Lord. What was really found, that what is the reason why a person who contributes to a political party chooses the mode of unclean money as payment mode? And your lordships would, my lord, immediately agree with me if we go by the practicalities of life. My lord, what happens is, my lord, suppose one state is going for an election. There are two parties, they're multi-party, but by and large, there are two parties which go neck to neck. Suppose I am a contractor, and I'm not a company or anything, I am a contractor and I'm supposed to give my political contribution to party A and party B, or party A or party B, as the case may be. But the fear was, if I give by way of accounted money or by clean money by way of a check, it would be easily identifiable. If I give to party A and party B forms the government, I would be facing victimization and retribution. And vice versa. If I give money to B and party A continues to be in government, then I would be facing retribution or victimization. Therefore, the safest course was to pay by cash so that none of the parties know what I paid to which party. And both parties are happy that I have paid some. So that the payment by cash ensured confidentiality. Both parties would say, that one party would be given 100 crores, one party would be given 40 crores, depending upon my assessment of their winnability. But both would not know who is paid what. But sometimes what used to happen is, in my business, I get only clean money or substantial part of the clean money, but practicalities require that I contribute to the political parties. And practicality again requires that I contribute with a degree of confidentiality so that I'm not victimized in future. And therefore, clean money used to be converted into unclean money, white money being converted into black money so that it can be paid according to them anonymously and according to me with confidentiality. And this is disastrous for the economy when white money is converted into black money.
But as the learned Chief Justice yesterday gave an example, quite possible that 100 people may buy bonds at one crore rupees each. And somebody may purchase those 100 crores by paying cash.
I just, my lord, I wanted to answer that question. But I also examined, my lord, that question. What your lordship's query, my lord, as I have understood is that suppose I have 100 crore in cash. Now your lordships are examining the scheme for the purpose of answering this particular query right now. I'll go into the history thereafter. I have 100 crores. What I will do is, I will give him cash of 10 crores that you deposit this in your account, buy a electoral bond of 10 crores, give it to me. I'll give another 15 crores to my another learned friend, and I will aggregate. Kindly, my lord, see the situation. The moment 10,000 10 crore of cash goes in his account, there are checks and balances within the income tax department. He will have to face the investigation. My learned friend will have to face the investigation. I will be involving 10 to 15 more persons to buy 10 to 15 electoral bonds. As against that, it's easier for me even today to go with 100 crores to a political party and say, they take this 100 crore in cash. Why should I, Lord, involve 10 people as my accomplice?
So the advantage is that the political party will get it in white. There's an advantage for the political party because it will get
I
it.
would not risk myself. The reason is this: the moment 10 crore cash goes in his account.
Suppose if 100 companies,
Yes,
they purchase it, they are, let us assume all of them are in profit.
yes, my lord.
They purchase for 1 crore. So they will get a double benefit that they will get income tax exemption for the amount that they have paid on.
Correct.
Yeah. And also if they transfer it to an aggregator, they will get cash also for that.
The difficulty is, my lord, the moment he deposits 10 crores in cash, my lord, the income tax department.
No, I'm not talking
He's
about.
not going to deposit 10 crores in cash. Who will ever deposit 10 crores in cash?
Then I'll show the scheme. It has to be deposited if he has to.
No. The problem with the scheme, Mr. Solicitor, it provides for selective anonymity. It's not completely anonymous. It provides selective anonymity
Confidentiality.
or selective confidentiality.
Yes.
The State Bank of India, it's not confidential with the State Bank of India. One, it's not confidential with the law enforcement agencies. So a large donor would never take the risk of buying the electoral bond for the purpose of tendering it to the political party. All that the large donor has to do is to disaggregate the donation, get people who will purchase electoral bonds with small amounts which will be then purchased through the official banking channels, not through cash. If you have to
Provided they have 10 crores. So I will have to find out 10 people who are having 10 crores and who are ready to risk that. But my lord, I need not tell you, lordship.
What really happens is this. What will really happen is this. A large donor will never put his or her head on the line by being in the books of account of the State Bank of India of having purchased.
They are doing it.
Won't do it, require the opposition opposition party, he'll do it while the ruling party.
There is no,
So,
Even
please.
Mr.
That-
Bhushan, they did not
Please, Mr.
interrupt you.
Bhushan.
yeah.
Please, Mr. Bhushan.
So
let
what
us-
would really happen is this, and that this is what the scheme is capable of, because it's selective anonymity,
My lord,
selective confidentiality.
my lord, I need not tell your lordships, my lord. A possible or potential abuse may not perhaps be the ground, but let me explain the entire scheme to your lordships. In a given,
Second, Mr. Solicitor, your argument that, look, if you were to strike down this scheme, you will go to a situation which had existed prior.
look, can I
That,
come?
I'll just, you can deal with it in your own course.
Yeah,
That would
yes.
not be valid in itself for the reason that we are not precluding the government from coming out with a transparent scheme or a scheme which has a level playing field. The purpose of ensuring that electoral funding relies less and less on the cash component and more on the accountable component. It's of course, it's work in progress. We are completely with you. There's no difficulty. We are completely with you that this is a problem which economies, we are democratic societies are grappling with. But the point is not that, it's not an all or nothing approach. The problem with the scheme lies is if it doesn't provide a level playing field to political parties, and B, if it suffers from opacity, as the argument for the other side is. This is not to prevent the legislature or the executive from coming out with a scheme which deals with these deficiencies. and comes-
Confidentiality goes.
No, it may be that the confidential, we are not saying what it should be. That's no part of our function.
That's not. My lord,
We are
let
not,
me allow-
that's not a
allow
part
me
of
to
our
respond.
function. But, and two very important things. Maybe the earlier scheme failed. Maybe it didn't get you as much of white money into the electoral funding as you would otherwise have liked to do. But look at the safeguards in the scheme, in the earlier provisions. A cap on how much of your net profits you can contribute.
I
One.
have an answer to that.
Two, a disclosure within your own accounts and therefore to your shareholders that this is the political party to whom we are contributing. What we are now doing is that in the effort to bring in white money into the electoral process,
Yes.
essentially we are providing for an information hole.
My lord, can I, my lord, respond? to
That is the problem. The
Look,
question,
but I believe, my lord-
the motive may be perfectly laudable, no question about it. Question is whether you have adopted means which are proportional,
My lord,
or
can I-
or do the means meet the test of
my lord,
Article
take
14?
it. I take it, my lords.
Yes.
So that I am not discouraged, that your lordships are just putting to me what is their contention.
Obviously, that's why I'm hearing you. Our views are never final until the last word in the case.
I know that, my lord, at 3 o'clock, my lord, it's too much of a seriousness, my lord. I wanted to break
Yes.
that seriousness.
Mr. Solicitor, our word is the last word, actually only when the judgment comes.
Judgment is delivered. I know, my lord, I know.
In fact, even after arguments conclude, we are all involved in parleys and discussions
Absolutely,
between
my lord. Your
ourselves.
lordships,
Until
formally
we ask questions,
confer,
we get answers.
this was just, my lord, to break, my lord, that aura of my lord, seriousness.
And putting questions is getting.
To get the answers.
answers,
I bow.
yes.
I understand, my lord. I have appeared before your lordship on the hundreds of times, my lord. I'm just on the lighter side. I wanted to, my lord. So, my lord, your lordship's, my lord, concern is right. But when I explain the scheme, your lordships would find that anything else other than keeping it confidential, my lord, will not be able to address the problem of victimization. And victimization incentivizes payment by cash.
Oh,
And here,
just one caveat over here.
yes,
Victimization and retribution is normally by the party in power,
yes, my lord.
not by the party which is in opposition.
My lord, the opposition may come
But
back in
just-
power
just-
after a month. My lord, I'll just, my lord.
So, but the figures which you are saying, that the maximum donations which are on paper, which are accounted for, are to the party in power and not to the party in opposition, may not therefore be logically flowing from that argument.
No, I am pointing this out, my lord, only to satisfy your lordships, my lord, their argument that because of this scheme, maximum money goes to ruling party. I am just trying to, my lord, show to your lordship,
Just
there
one
is
more
a
question.
trend,
Just one
whether
more-
it is this scheme or prior to that.
Just one more question and thereafter the field is up to you. The other issue is, which is because of selective confidentiality, Now, what happens is when the selective confidentiality as far as donations to the opposition party is concerned, there are ways and means to get that information. And it's easier for the party in power to get that information.
It's not.
Let's put it very frankly.
Well,
You've been very
let-
frank
very
on the
frank-
first aspect. Let's be also very frank on the second aspect.
My lord, my lord,
Now, what is the fear is because of this selective confidentiality, but donors to the opposition party can be ascertained, at least by the investigating agencies.
Lord, I'll just tell your lordship, Lord,
So
nobody
they are
has-
put at a disadvantage to question you on your donations, whereas their donations get questioned.
I'll just, Lord, answer that question. You will have to trust, you means, Lord, we will have to trust at some stage someone as the final fiduciary position capacity, Lord, authority. Second, Lord, nobody has so far taken your lordships through the scheme and how the scheme operates. That's what, my lord, I intend to do. Lord, possibly this may not be 100% foolproof scheme. Lord, there may be out of 100, 5 people which your, my lord, the Chief Justice, my lord, indicated. They might misuse it. But suppose I am a genuine person who wants to contribute without any retribution. Lord, I'll just give an example. I don't wish to give any example of a live election, my lord, but imagine a state which is where election process is going on. Party A is in power, party B is likely to be in power, and both are neck to neck. As a contractor, my lord, I would like to, my lord, contribute to both the parties because I know that there is 49% possibility of party B coming into power. And therefore, I will have to be, my lord, contributing to them. I am on practical lines without being idealistic, etc. I'll come on transparency, informational privacy, etc. But let us take it on a practical plane. Either way, my lord, I will be incentivized to give cash because I do not know whether B will form the government after a month. And I do not know whether A will continue to be in the government after the month. Either of the way, my victimization and retribution will continue. So the only incentive is to pay by cash. Nobody knows what I pay. As against that, I will explain in the scheme that nobody can come to know, including the central government. Including the central government, I'll be able to show from the scheme. But every provision is made with some intention, some rationale, some justification, and some purpose to prevent some malpractice in mind.
But retribution is not avoided by this scheme. I'll tell you the simple reason for it. Under the Companies Act as now modified, a company is not required to disclose to which political party it has contributed,
Correct.
but it has to disclose how much it has contributed
Correct.
totally.
Correct.
So companies, say a large public limited company says, I have contributed 400 crores this financial year, right? Now, the party, including a party in power, whether in the state or in the center, knows how much has come to it in terms of electoral bonds from that particular company?
It can never know. Therefore, allow me.
No, the party, of course, it knows.
If the donor discloses
Party
identity,
ABC, Party ABC knows how much has come from this company into its coffers. You also know from the company's balance sheet how much it has contributed in a macro sense. So that balance sheet no longer discloses to whom it has been
unless, my
contributed.
lord,
That mismatch is sufficient to know as to how much money has gone to the party in power. So it's not that the possibility of retribution is averted by this scheme.
so far as possible. But, my lord, after I explain the scheme to your lordships, my lord, your lordships perhaps may have a rethink on this, my lord, apprehension. Because otherwise, my lord, I asked them, what is a better solution? Reverting back to the earlier incentivized black contribution scheme? No, that's again a question. Out of 100, my lord, everybody doesn't pay by 400 crores. Lord, they pay
That's
5
Mr.
crores.
Sharma. What is the better solution is for Mr. Sharma to answer.
Pardon, sir?
That's for Mr. Sharma to answer. Even if we have some answers or questions, we will not answer that because we are restrained by judicial review.
Yes, sir. Lord, so I was on page 105.
105.
5. My lord, just to show that between 2004-5 to 2014-15, it's not because of the scheme, but because of the trend, because of the consistent practice of the contributors that so and so party got maximum, then the second, then the third. They know who is going to be in power. They are better judges than of the electoral process than the common man or those who contribute. But they know that where to invest their money. And I'm using that expression, which I should not have used. Now, please come to page 113. Page 113, income of political parties from unknown, known, and other sources. But here there was a complete anonymity or opaqueness or confidentiality, whatever name we may use, because once I pay in cash, I have no difficulty at all. Nobody can find out what money I have paid to Congress, what money I have paid to BJP or TMC, anyone. Complete immunity from retribution or victimization. Now see, please see. Unknown sources. The first party is 2,000 some crores. Second party, 3,000 some crores. Please see, the last for which Mr. Farasat appeared, 471 crores. They say that we don't buy electoral bond. They better start buying electoral bond. And I'll point out, I don't wish to go into it. What is the source of their funding? Then, known sources. Please see, for the last party, 15.04. Known sources, 15.04. They're running a government. And other known sources, 406 crore. And what is other known sources, Please, kindly. We have BJP has 228 crores. And they have done. See the fourth column, other known sources. What happens when they don't buy the electoral bond? So I'm sorry, last political party, other known source, your lordship gets. But this is 406 crores. I have their balance sheets. Other known source means membership fees. And membership fees is more than double than both the national parties, BJP and Congress. They have kind of a bucket collection. There are several things, which the best thing to do is to ensure that they get electoral bonds. Then only this kind of a situation. Please see the chart below. Regional parties. Now the interesting figure. I will not take your lordships to examples of each of the parties, but see the first party. Unknown source. 766.27 crores out of total. Please see 819 crores. Last column is total. So out of 800 crores, 766 crores is unknown sources. Maybe out of 100, what your lordship say, in 2 cases, it may be true. But otherwise, this is the position.
In the other known sources, when they submit to the ECI, they give the names of the persons? No.
Yes, I think so, yes.
They give the names of the
They
persons?
give the names. 1,50,000.
For CPM, I'm not speaking
No, no.
about the CPM, I'm just saying that it's a sort of
Let CPM defend itself. You need not bother. CPM is very much here.
Please.
You can rest assured, he will competently defend it.
Interestingly.
I didn't name the party, my lord. history. Name any political party, my lord, that well, I didn't want to politicize it, but it was necessary for me to give these figures to your lordships. That if confidentiality is
The Malays is agnostic to political parties,
Yes.
whichever side of the spectrum you are.
yes, ma'am.
The Malays affects the entire spectrum. So we're not here saying that a particular political party is holier than the other. I mean, we have a problem.
That's a problem which we are grappling with.
And this figure which you have said, we'll again not say more than that, is 2004-5 to 2014-15.
That's all. But I also didn't say anything. I only highlighted the period that this was, even prior, this was the trend.
Your chart was not lost to us.
I'm grateful, Malad. And the chart which Mr. Bhushan's client should have placed, it is his chart. He has placed all the charts except this chart.
But Mr. Solicitor, therefore that really, for us, would really still beg the question, in the sense that for us, it's not whether, the ruling political party in power presently is going to be the beneficiary of that or not. We are testing a question of constitutionality.
And
We take your point that, well, this is part of our political system. Whoever is in power gets the large share of the pie insofar as electoral contributions are concerned.
yes,
So we have to deal with this uninfluenced by all this, by the vicissitudes of the change in
I'm great.
political fortune.
I'm great. Because that keeps on changing. And party which is in power in the center, maybe in
May or may not
opposition
be
in
the
state. The state may be completely different party, like my lord, West Bengal, it's neither in center. So this, my lord, in our federal structure, that keeps on changing. So your lordships are necessarily confined to, my lord, whether this scheme is constitutionally, my lord, valid and can appeal to your lordship. Now, please come to, my lord, page 6. What are the earlier efforts made? And, my lord, some of the discussion in parliament.
Page 6.
Page 6 of my written submissions 2A. The same file, same document, my lord. Because I must say, my lord, to the credit of all our leaders across political lines, that everyone has tried their best. Lord, sometimes the problem is this, my lord, and I was, Lord, really told about this problem. In political parties also, there are divergence of views, whether to support this scheme or not to support this scheme. And the reason is genuine, practical, but a little humorous. What happens is, I am a leader, I am a local leader in a state, or third, fourth ranked leader at the national level. I get 30 crore by way of political contribution to my party. I would deposit only 25 crores in the party. In case of electoral bond, every rupee goes to the account of the political party. If I have to accept it, I have to accept only through electoral bond. That unexpected benefit will not be available to me. So, there is a debate even amongst other political parties that this scheme works well. This element is at least eliminated. Now, please see, my lord, what are the efforts which were made, and then I will link it to the speech of the then Honorable Finance Minister when this scheme was introduced. That every effort was made, every permutation, combination, this can be the solution, that can be the solution. Everything was tried by the nation. And we reached the situation which I have shown at page 102 onwards. And now, with that problem, the nation, as a nation, I'm not going one party or other ruling here or ruling there. As a nation, we started thinking, and in the parliament, this scheme was not presented, and why it was not debated, how it was debated, I'll point this. Lord, please come to page 6. The position in India. Lord, I have before that given the position of other states. I'm not reading it. It's for your lordship's assistance. I'm sorry, page 7, page 6. 1956, section 293, read with 293A of the Companies Act allowed corporate donations to political parties as long as memorandum of association of the company permitted the same. Lord, your lordships have seen 1957 judgment, and therefore I am not reading it. Lord, it's a judgment reported in 58, but it's a 57 judgment. But at page 7, my learned friend, my lord, missed the last part. I need not, my lord, remind your lordships are aware of it. But ultimately, my lord, Justice Chagla said this after, my lord, that discussion, which I have quoted, my lord, on the first column on page 7. But it is not for us to legislate, as my lord, the Chief Justice said, nor is it for us to lay down the policy. But having had this case before us, and our attention having been drawn to the possible evils attendant upon powers exercised by the companies, we thought it our duty to draw the attention of Parliament to the necessity of remedial measures being immediately undertaken to curb and control the evil. Now, Lord, possibly as a result of this judgment or otherwise, Lord, we do not know what happened, what were the circumstances in 69. But Lord, there is one article, my Lord, where I could find something. Lord, before I take your lordships to this 69, my Lord, the theory is that in 69 there was a party called Swatantra Party floated by
Pilu Modi.
no, that was by Rajaji.
Rajaji and Pilu Modi,
Rajaji,
they were the two,
Rajaji.
Rajaji was really the...
Raj Gopalachari, my lord, was the founder of that party, and that party was gaining momentum. This is, my lord, a theory. And the government of the day wanted contributions to that party, which was gaining momentum, to stop. And therefore, they prohibited any contribution by the companies. Please, my lord, see 69. Following the recommendation of Santhanam Committee, the government introduced an amendment which prohibited any contribution by a company to any political party or for any political purpose to any individual or body. Lord, your lordships can mark this. Santhanam Committee report, I'm not going to read it, is in volume 4. Volume 4. I'll just give the page number, but your lordship need not read that. But as a part of that committee's report, it was followed by the government, and the contribution was.
What is the page in volume 4?
I'm just. Page 8103, my lord. Serial number.
We just to make a yes.
Yes. Now note. Note is interesting, my lord. Therefore, I am tempted to place it. Since corporate funding was illegal, the corporates and politicians created several backdoor routes of channeling the money into the Congress party. I'm sorry, I don't mention names of party. Facilitated by large sums of cash holding with businesses. A commentator has called this practice briefcase politics. My Lord Justice Gawai, my Lord, used this expression, briefcase politics, referring to a prevalent practice of pricing government permits at number of briefcases of cash that can be supplied. In exchange of doling out benefits to corporates, the party collected large amounts of cash and illicit money, while at the same time depriving opposition parties of legally collecting funds from the corporates. Thus, corporate donations continued despite bans, they just became underground. It is devised a new method of legally channeling corporate money into so-and-so coffers by placing corporate advertisements in party journals. Magazines used to be published, souvenirs used to be published. These corporate advertisements were an indirect way of funding the party without violating the law. My Lord, I have given which article from which I have taken this. Then, my Lord, in 1979, the Income Tax Act was amended to exempt the income of political parties from taxation by way of Section 13A. Subject
Before 79, the income tax parties were not exempt. Political parties were not exempt.
I think so, my lord. Subject to being corrected, my lord. That's my research shows, my lord. It not to my knowledge.
Check from Mr. Palkiola's book or.
I'll check up, my lord.
Because when you use the word amended to exempt,
you're not.
Maybe a lose a.
Was amended. Yeah, my lord. Must be amendment means there must be pre-existing exemption. My lord, I'll answer this, my lord, tomorrow. Then 85. My lord, 85. The then government, my lord, took a bold step. Please see, corporate funding was reintroduced by the government by making necessary amendments in section 293A of the Companies Act. All companies except government companies were allowed to contribute to political parties or to any person for political purposes, subject to approval of the board of directors and disclosure in the profit and loss statement. Here also, the board of directors decide. That's the regime continuing till the scheme came. These donations were restricted to 5% of companies' average net profits of previous 3 years. Lord, now, please, my lord, see the debate in Parliament when this was introduced, my lord. That would really assist your lordships, my lord. That is in my volume, my lord. I have, my lord, circulated a second volume. I'm not going to read the whole, but, my lord, I have placed the entire debate, my lord. It's at page. Lord, page 41.
Volume 2?
Volume 2B, no. 2A of documents, if you can. It's called, my lord, compilation of documents.
ये कहाँ है यार?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is the one, my lord. Your lordships are on the right page.
नहीं, पर हमारे let's get it down.
Of documents or 2A?
2A, my lord. Compilation 2A.
2A is your written submissions actually.
No, there is compilation 2A, my lord. Compilation 2A, my lord. That's how it is.
What is it, does it begin with?
Lord, it is compilation on behalf of Solicitor General of India, my lord. That's the title.
That's
Because
volume 2, not
because
2A.
the-
Final compilation of Union of India.
Yes, yes.
Compilation 2, volume 2, final compilation, no.
No, 2A doc, that's the,
Airdrop कर देना. These words.
yes, my lords. No, additionally. Okay. I'm thankful to my learned.
No. I wish you had told us,
Well,
but
yeah.
doesn't matter. Indeed.
We had requested them more than a week earlier, 10 days earlier. You give us whatever documents we'll upload.
It's okay.
But anyway,
It's all right. It's too big a matter to start objecting on these technicalities. Huh?
Kindly see, my lord, page 41, your lordships have on this document. my lord. Lord, we'll sit with the court master and, my lord, give the appropriate nomenclature or the title to this, my lord, compilation.
On the screen, yeah.
It is, my lord, essentially a debate of parliament. It's not a document, my lord, in that sense of pleadings or something.
This is
Lord,
the
this is,
1985
Yes.
Companies Amendment.
yes, Companies Amendment Act Bill 1985. The Minister of Chemicals and Fertilizers and Industry and Company Affairs. My lord, please read.
Just give us the page reference. This will be called compilation volume.
My lord, whatever your lordship says, we will accordingly, my lord.
Okay. क्या होगा ये?
That's what I'm saying, that whatever the court.
Said 41 earlier.
41 is the.
2B.
41 it starts.
The honorable members will recall, my lord, your lordships have, my lord, all my lords have, The honorable members will recall that the government had made certain important policy announcements while introducing the finance bill on 16th March 85. One such announcement was that the companies should be permitted to make political contribution in order to enable the corporate sector to play a legitimate role within the defined norms in the functioning of our democracy, and for this purpose necessary legislation would be undertaken. In recent years, a view has gained ground that a certain amount of openness rather than a blanket ban on political donation will really augur well for a cleaner political and economic environment. Representatives of trade and industry have been equally urging upon the government to reconsider replacement of the existing provision of 239A by the law which obtained prior to 1969 and which was introduced by 1960 to permit companies to make political contributions subject to certain ceilings. Companies often urge, and rightly, that they are entitled to support a political party which believes in certain amount of freedom of private business. Secondly, many companies feel that they can resist any pressure from any political party out of books donations if they are allowed to contribute by an enabling provision of the statute. Please mark this. In 85 also they said that we are required to pay in cash. Black permit us officially. Enabling provision on the statute, a certain sum which is within their capacity to spend. Thirdly, it is also argued with some force that a company itself functions on the principle of shareholders' democracy, and therefore a ban on political donation in a democratic society is an anachronism. Fourthly, political donations by companies is permitted within limits in other democratic countries of the world which have not suffered on account of permitted political donation. Now, your lordships, my lord, kindly rest, my lord, your lordships may not read. Please come to page 43. My lord, this is a beautiful, my lord, speech delivered by one Mr. Panika. Your lordship has them. My lord. I'm just showing, my lord,
What is the internal page on that?
330, right hand side top. I'm showing, my lord, that this is the problem with which we are grappling, and we are trying to find out some solution or the other.
Where does that speech begin actually?
Lord, it's begin at page 326, internal page 320. Left hand side is 325 and right hand side is 326. That's column wise pagination. It seems, my lord. There is a column wise pagination.
Yes.
I am on, my lord, column number 40.
First was Mr. Virendra Patil's statement, which you read out.
Yes, my lord.
All right. And where does Mr. Panika's begin actually? I just want to go back.
No, that is 330, right hand side.
No.
Right hand.
Right hand side. My lord, they have paginated.
Pyare Panika
Yes, Panika.
from Robertsganj. All right.
Yes.
I thought it was KM Panika. No.
No. Sir,
Pyare Panika. Yes.
as the Honorable Minister has said while introducing this bill, a hint was given at the time of introducing the finance bill that a bill permitting donations to various political parties would be brought forward. Not only this, the Prime Minister of our country had also announced in the manifesto of our party at that time that at the time of elections that such a provision must be made, keeping in view the political parties and also with a view to removing corruption from the country. With all these things in view, the Honorable Minister has brought forward this bill today. Therefore, I fully support the bill. Sir, you just have a glimpse into the history of the 37 or 38 years. A bill was brought forward in 1956. Not only this, the leaders of the political parties of the side, where it was Professor Madhu Dandavate or whether it was Sachar committee, were of the view that donation should be banned, and it was under those circumstances that government had imposed a ban on them. But after imposing the ban, it was felt that black money was increasing rather fast, and various political parties who were not in a position to collect donations either due to their own policies or due to other circumstances of their own making were not getting justice even in the elections. Keeping all these things, this bill has been brought forward. I was just going through the debate that took place on this bill in Rajya Sabha. Many of the opposition members have supported it, but at the same time, they have also alleged that the Congress so-and-so party has brought forward this bill in its own interest. I went to tell Sri so-and-so you have a government in so-and-so, and left front have their government in so-and-so. The so-and-so has its government. Therefore, if you criticize, it is for the sake of criticism. It's not good. There is no question of benefit in it. The question is how to root out corruption from politics. Today, black money poses the biggest problem before the country, and all this is being done by big capitalists, those elements who influence the economy of our country. And if it is not checked, it is but natural that these elements will try to give a slip to government under the pretext of patronizing many political parties. Therefore, today is a very important day in the democracy of our country, and the bill brought forward by the Honorable Minister is a historic one which will help checking many malpractices which have crept into polity due to the imposition of ban on donations. Not only this, I and my party colleagues are of the view that there should not be too many parties. One knows to what extent the number of parties had risen before the elections in the name of caste, etc. My lord. Please come to, my lord, next page, 334, my lord, the right-hand side pagination. My lord, this is by Harish Rawat, the then MP, possibly, my lord, the former CM of Harish Rawat,
Yes, yes.
Uttarakhand. The political system, my lord, second unnumbered para. The political system which we have today is an open political system. In such a system, every section is free to play its decisive role, but the prosperous section uses its influence more. There is no denying the fact that the role of money is continuously increasing in our election system. Every political party is ever eager to accept this money in some form or the other and from one source or the other. No political party is today in a position to say that they contest election on the money raised through their membership subscription or by the subscription collected by the workers, except, my lord, we have seen one party, my lord. In this situation, which is developing in our country, wherein at the center there is so-and-so government, and in various states, governments of different parties are being formed, it cannot be said that the rising of resources by way of donations is confined to the so-and-so party alone, and there is a restriction on other parties, and that they cannot accept money. That is not so. Now the question arises, why a ban was imposed on it in 1969? When this ban was imposed at that time, also it was serial on the basis of recommendations made in the reports of various committees that donations by companies were causing degradation, a sort of pollution in politics. But after the ban imposed in 1969, a new situation emerged. The intention behind that ban was good, but the intention was not fulfilled, and it was highlighted by the political parties, the intelligentsia, and the newspapers that the political parties were receiving black money from the companies, and the companies were polluting politics by giving black money, and at the same time, the political parties were giving protection to the companies generating black money by accepting donations. I am of the view that the donations that the political parties will get after legalizing donations by the companies will not be in black money. The companies will have to show their accounts to the income tax and other departments, and the other people can also have information to this effect in one way or the other. My lord, please rest, my lord, your lordships can skip and come to, my lord,
This is lacking now.
338. Yes, I'm
The
sorry.
present scheme, this is lacking.
Yes, my lord, we
Other persons will not be in a position to get any
Correct, my
information.
lord. I'll have to justify that. I'll have to justify that. But this attempt was made. Thereafter, also some attempts were made. And having found that this is the only possible solution to not incentivize black money, then, my lord, the decision is taken. I'll come to that. I bow down, my lord, and I'll have to satisfy your lordship's conscience on that. My lord, page 338, my lord, second unnumbered para. Sir, whatever might have been desirable in 1969 may be undesirable in 1985 and vice versa. According to the particular situation prevailing at that time, we would have decided something. But now, with the change in the circumstances, if we reverse our earlier opinion, there is nothing wrong in it. Everybody feels that even when there was no ban on political donations, the generation of black money was so rampant that a serious check was necessary because the future of our children and future of our democracy have been seriously affected. Now, sir, the very basis of democracy is that we must have a clean public life and a cleaner political structure. We want to create a society by giving a tradition of cleaner public life about which our children may be proud of. The present situation which is prevailing is that there are serious complaints to which I referred to earlier. Your Lordships can, my Lord, thereafter skip. Please, my Lord, rest may not be, my Lord, of much assistance. And thereafter, your Lordships would find the objection reasons, my Lord, why in 1985, this act came to be amended and 239 was reintroduced permitting the political contribution, of course, with the cap of 5%. Well, that is at page 62 of this compilation. My Lord, it refers to the same thing. My Lord, I may not take your Lordship's time on that. My Lord, kindly, my Lord, come back to my written submissions at page 7. My Lord, the statement of objection reasons in substance says what I have read, what was discussed in Parliament. Nothing more, my Lord, nothing less. So either of us, my Lord, may not get any new fact which can assist your Lordship. My Lord, page 7 bottom. Wide-ranging amendments were made in the Representation of People Act, the Income Tax Act 1961, and the Companies Act 1956 in various provisions relating to elections, political parties, and connected matter. The amendment inter alia included the following. Section 29B was inserted in Representation of People Act, by way of which political parties were explicitly permitted, subject to provisions of the Companies Act, to accept any amount of contribution voluntarily offered to it by any person or company other than government company. The provision for declaration of donation received by the political parties was also inserted as Section 29C in Representation of People. My Lord, this is now amended, my Lord. Your Lordships have seen that. A chapter relating to supply of certain material to recognize political parties was also inserted in Chapter 5A in the Representation of People Act. Contributions to political parties by individuals as well as corporations were made 100% tax deductible by insertion of Section 80 GGB and 80 GGC in the Income Tax Act. By way of amendments in the Income Tax Act, this is 2009, tax deductions of the contribution made by a company to electoral trusts were enabled, and income received by electoral trusts were also exempted from the Income Tax Act. Then, 2013, the 5% cap was increased to 7.5. Then 2014, guidelines for submission of contribution reports of electoral trusts were issued by the Election Commission of India to requiring electoral trusts to disclose details relating to contributions received by it and the contributions made by the trust to various political parties. Lord, please pause here for a minute. Lord, what is this electoral trust? It exists today also. This system exists today. The Honorable Finance Minister in 2017-18, while introducing the present scheme, takes note of it and says that it has not achieved the result it was intended to achieve. Electoral trust is not the subject matter. I'll just broadly point out what are the contours of how the trust operates. Lord, any companies, number of companies, 5 companies, not less than 5, my Lord, can create a trust. It's only a name trust. It is not to be registered as a trust. It is a Section 25 company. Whatever companies have chosen to be members of this trust would put their money in that common pool. And that trust would decide whom to pay, what to pay, to what extent to pay.
And they have to pay not less than 95% of income in
95%.
the previous financial year.
5% would be for their administrative expenses. But there also, this confidentiality was not given. And therefore, nobody preferred to go through the channel of electoral trust. It is available. Look, today, I must tell you, Lordships, there are these channels available. I can still pay by cash. very, well, honestly, I can still pay by cash. Second, I can pay by way of a check, which discloses my identity. I may not have any objection, my identity is disclosed. I'm identified with a particular political party, or I'm paying both the same amount, either way. Third, I pay by RTGS. That again discloses my identity if the party wants, any political party wants to know. Fifth, this electoral trust. That also is a scheme open. Now, the fifth one, after experimenting, my lord, all these, is the I'm sorry, my lord, present scheme. Lord, please, my lord, now 15 your losses were taken, my lord, the election commission's report, and my lord, 2017 are the present amendments, my lord, which are made, and electoral bond scheme was notified. Now, my lord, may please kindly see, your lordships would find position in the United States of America. Well, they also had, well, something similar like electoral trust. Because every country is grappling. For example, my learned friend cited one example of one country where it is directed that government would fund the election. It's not possible. That was an example of a country with less population than Delhi and with 2 or 3 parties. But we have federal democracy, we have several country-specific issues. But here, what is called PAC, political action committees, which were like voluntary organizations, were created. And those PACs were the common pool in which the companies would donate, and those PACs would decide where to, which political party is to be funded. But they had their own problems, which I have narrated, my lord, which may not immediately assist your lordships in, my lord, the present dispute, and therefore, my lord, I leave it at that, my lord. Your lordships may kindly go through it. It would be, my lord, it would be an interesting read, my lord, and it would give a perspective that why every country is grappling with the problem and why every country is trying to find out the solution which is country specific. Now, your lordships, my lord, kindly come to page 22. My lord, race time, lord, your lordships have taken note of several things, my lord. But before that, my lord, please come to para 62 at page 22. Lord, I had the benefit of sitting with the then Honorable Finance Minister, who, my lord, conceived this. He held several meetings, not with me, with several experts, and the scheme was drawn. And when this petition was filed, my lord, he explained to me, to the learned Attorney General, then Attorney General Mr. Venugopal, and me. We sat with him for about 3 to 4 hours. My lord. This is the crux of what he felt. Transparency in, look, this is the Honorable Minister's speech on 1st of February 2017. Yes. Look, page 22, para 62. My lords, I have transparency in electoral funding. India is the world's largest democracy. Political parties are an essential ingredient of a multi-party parliamentary democracy. Even 70 years after independence, the country has not been able to evolve a transparent method of funding political parties, which is vital to the system of free and fair elections. An attempt was made in the past by amending the provisions of the Representation of People Act, the Companies Act, and the Income Tax Act to incentivize donations by individuals, partnership firms, HUFs, and companies to political parties. Both the donor and the donee were granted exemption from payment of tax if the accounts were transparently maintained and returns were filed with the competent authorities. Additionally, a list of donors who contributed more than rupees 20,000 to any party in cash or check is required to be maintained. The situation has only marginally improved since these provisions were brought into force. The political parties continue to receive most of their funds through anonymous donations, which are shown in cash. Lord, this is, Lord, unless you accept the problem, there cannot be a solution being found. Lord, honestly, my Lord, the Honorable Minister says that this is the problem we are facing. An effort, therefore, requires to be made to cleanse the system of political funding in India. Donors have also expressed reluctance in donating by check or other transparent methods, as it would disclose their identity and entail adverse consequences. Well, this is not what I am saying by way of a justification. This is what is in the mind of the lawmaker. Fortunately, he was very sick. Unfortunately, not just the out of, not out in the so far as matter is concerned, but when this discussion used to take place, the then Honorable Finance Minister Malad was really very unwell. He was in the last phase of Mr. Jaitley ji, Malad, and he used to carry some liquid Malad, which he used to continue sipping as advised by the doctors. And we lost about 25 kgs, and Malad, I can remember those days. Uh, an effort, therefore, requires to be made to cleanse the system of political funding in India. Donors have also expressed reluctance in donating by check or other transparent methods, as it would disclose their identity and entail adverse consequences. I therefore propose the following scheme as an effort to cleanse the system of funding of political parties. In accordance with the suggestion made by the Election Commission, the maximum amount of cash donation that a political party can receive will be 2,000 from one person. Political parties will be entitled to receive donations by check or digital mode from their donors. As an additional step, an amendment is being proposed to the Reserve Bank of India Act to enable the issuance of electoral bonds in accordance with a scheme that the Government of India would frame in this regard. Under this scheme, a donor could purchase bonds from authorized banks against check and digital payments only. They shall be redeemable only in the designated account of a registered political party. These bonds will be redeemable within the prescribed time limit from issuance of the bond. Every political party would have to file its return within the time prescribed in accordance with the provisions of the Income Tax Act. Needless to say that the existing exemption to political parties from payment of income tax would be available only subject to fulfillment of these conditions. This reform will bring about greater transparency and accountability in political funding while preventing future generation of black money. Further, the speech of the then Honorable Minister, my lord, there were some apprehensions voiced by some leaders of, my lord, the opposition parties. Then, my lord, the then Honorable Minister answers. Let me clear the misconception if there is any, because we have gone through this debate at the time of the finance bill itself. This announcement was a part of the general budget itself. I had announced in the budget speech itself that political funding in India needs to be cleaned up. Today, the system is, and this is no secret to any political party or to the world outside, that donations coming to political parties are coming otherwise than through banking instruments. The names of the donors, quantum, and source of money are not known. There was complete lack of transparency. Electoral bonds substantially seek to cleanse. Already he doesn't say 100%. He's very clear that we substantially try to tackle this problem. Electoral bonds substantially seek to cleanse that system. Any person seeking to donate money to a political party during that specified period can buy electoral bonds from the specified branch of the State Bank of India. Those bonds can be given only to a registered political party and only such parties, so that fake parties are not registered, which secured at least 1% vote in the last election. Otherwise, for the purpose of getting donation, you can float a party. Those parties will have to announce one designated account, that is so and so or the so and so or the so and so will have one account given to the election commission in advance. These bonds can be encashed within 15 days of purchase by the donor to the political party. My lord, when I come to the scheme, I'll explain why this 15%. That quid pro quo element is, my lord, attempted to be done away with. There would be a significant amount of transparency. Significant amount, my lord. It doesn't say that this is a foolproof solution we are giving. Today, there is nil transparency. When the cash is given, the source of money, the donor, and where it is spent is not known. Therefore, at least now it will be known. The donor will be having an account of how many bonds he has purchased. The political party will be filing returns to the election commission, thereby indicating the total bonds it has received and which donor gave to which political party. It is in order to ensure that the transformation into clean money takes place smoothly and people are incentivized to give that. That is the only factor which will not be known. So there will be clean money and a substantial.
Mr. Solicitor, there's a clear problem here with this speech.
Yes.
The finance minister then, I mean, it's of course a speech in parliament, but now the element of transparency is that the donors buy these bonds. Not necessary. The donor doesn't have to buy the bond. The person who buys the bond need not be the donor to the political party.
Out of 100, your lordships are right, 2 can be such. Not all.
We are not on how many.
But your lordships would
we are not how many.
But your lordships would not.
We don't know how many out of 100 too. The point is that a donor does not necessarily have to be a person who buys the bond at all. Second,
I'll answer that.
I'll answer. Obviously, their balance sheets will reflect that they have bought a certain amount of bonds.
Correct.
Balance sheets of only the purchaser will reflect, not of the donor necessarily.
Correct, Manu. Maybe 3 out of 100, 5 out of 100. No, your lordships are aware I need not cite the law, though I have placed it.
Then later in the next para, the learned finance minister says, when the cash is given, the source of money, the donor, and where it is spent is not known.
Correct.
Therefore, at least now it will be known. How will this be known? Suppose an electoral bond is purchased, the source of the money is not known, the donor is not known, and where it is spent is not known.
I'm sorry.
All three are not known.
No. It is known, my lord. Kindly allow me, my lord, to explain the scheme. My lord, when I buy the, my lord, forget the example which your lordships, my lord, have in mind.
Yes.
Out of 100, my lord, 5 people may misuse the scheme. That
Yes.
may perhaps not be the ground on which your lordship would judge the validity. But rest 95, my lord, those who
We are
really
not on
want to.
misuse. We are on what the scheme really is capable of.
Your lordships have not seen the scheme.
Right.
Lord, nobody has taken your lordships through the.
We'll see the whole scheme together.
Lord, therefore, but Lord, what the honorable minister is, Lord, trying to say is that if I buy the bond, my balance sheet would reflect that I am buying the bond. The scheme envisages that I can buy my bond only if I am KYC compliant, and therefore it would be known somewhere that this gentleman has bought electoral bond for being contributing
The
to.
balance sheet does not reflect which bond he has bought. The balance sheet only reflects the total amount which has been spent
Yes.
on contributions.
The total bond purchased, the amount, not to whom it is given. It need not, my lord. Otherwise also, my lord, it is never. My lord, if I buy, my lord, say Kisan Vikas Patra, not a comparable thing, but it doesn't show, the balance sheet would not show it's gifted to my daughter. It shows only buying of Kisan Vikas Patra. Now, when it is given to a political party, the political party would deposit in a designated account. There is, my lord, a minute scheme which is prepared. And that designated account also will have to reflect in the statement of accounts of that political party, which will be filed before the election commission. The election commission would know that at least 500 crores have come by way of clean money. And both of them, my lord, will be reflecting that in their respective books of accounts, which the honorable minister says in case of cash, nobody knew. I may go with a bag of 50 crore, give it to Mr. X of who is the president or whatever of a political party, and nobody would know what I have given, to whom I have given, whether it has reached political party or not, what use it is put to, nothing. Therefore, he says that significantly we'll be able to tackle this problem. Then, my lord, it is in order to ensure that the transformation into, I'm sorry, my lord, that I have seen. My lord, now, this is wrongly mentioned as article written, but it was a statement made by the Honorable Finance Minister, published in, my lord, Press Information Bureau. My lord, that is, my lord, very, very, my lord, relevant for your lordship's assistance. Your lordships have, my lord, page 24, para 64.
Yes.
My lord, I can read it from the original, my lord, which is at page.
You can read it right here only. You can read it here. No problem. You have extracted the whole of it.
Lord, if I can, my lord, read it from here. We have extracted whole. Lord, it's not extracted in full. Lord, better your lordship reads from the whole. It would be unfair, my lord, not to read the whole. My lord, it's PDF 14, volume 2. Volume 2. PDF
Page 14.
14. PDF page 14. Lord, first and second para we have not quoted because that is already there in the budget speech of the Honorable Minister. Your Lordships would find. I'm not reading, but just see, India is the largest democracy in the world. However, despite strengthening various institutions for the last
So it appears to have been an article by Mr. Jaitley, because this also says, following is the text of the article written by Mr. Maybe it was published in some newspaper at that time.
No, it was Press Information Bureau, but my lord, I'll check up. But I was told, my lord, there were some confusions or, my lord, misgivings, and therefore it was more by way of a statement. But be that as it may, undisputably written by the then Honorable Minister. A major step, my lord, second paragraph. Lord, can I? I'm sorry. A major step was taken during the first NDA government. The Income Tax Act was amended to include a provision that donations made to political parties would be treated as expenditure and would thus give a tax advantage to the donor. If the political party disclosed its donations in the prescribed manner, it would also not be liable to pay any tax. A political party was expected to file its return both with the income tax authorities and election commission. It was hoped that donors would increasingly start donating money by check. Some donors did start following this practice, but most of them were reluctant to disclose the details of the quantum of donation given to a political party. This was because they feared consequences visiting them from political opponents. The law, there are governments of other political dispensation in states. So, Lord, it's that is how, Lord, we balance the side. But it's not only the central government which rules. In a federal setup, Lord, if you, for example, if somebody were to pay BJP in West Bengal, I'm just giving a hypothetical example, then some other party, Lord, might victimize. It's not an allegation, it's an illustration. The law was further amended during the UPA government to I'll give another example so that my learned friend is satisfied.
It's a very apt example. Why?
My lord, why?
Why?
My lord,
No, he
in
agrees with you.
My lord, in Madhya Pradesh,
Be on the defense.
somebody contributes to Congress, maybe, my lord, BJP might victimize. My lord, now it balances. Now there is a level playing field between both parties.
No, there's no level playing field on the funding. The rest is the level playing field.
No, this was on the lighter side. Some donors did start following this practice, but most of them were reluctant to disclose the details of quantum of donation given to a political party. This was because they feared consequences visiting them from political opponents. The law was further amended during the UPA government to provide for pass-through electoral trusts so that the donors would park their money with the electoral trust, which in turn would distribute the same to various political parties. Both these reforms taken together resulted in only a small fraction of donation coming in the form of checks. Please mark this. This is what ultimately the experience was. In order to make a serious effort to carry forward this reform process, I had announced in my budget speech for the year 17-18 that the existing system would be substantially widened and donations of clean money could be made to political parties in several ways. A donor could enjoy a tax deduction by donating in check. Donors would also be free to donate monies online to political parties. A cash donation to a political party could not exceed an amount of rupees 2,000, etc. Please see next para. I do believe that donations made online or through checks remain in an ideal method of donation to political parties. However, these have not become very popular in India since they involve disclosure of donor's identity. This is the heart and soul on which, my lord, either I can satisfy persuading your lordships or I fail. The confidentiality.
So the heart really, I mean, that you are, frankly, Solicitor, you're very fair. The heart of it is whether we accept this submission that, look, if you require disclosure of
The
identity.
scheme fails. Then we go back to the earlier thing, or
Because
unless
whether we like it or not, according to you, our political system is such that there would be reprisal, that there would be a sense of vindictiveness if well, you paid this to this particular party.
and that incentivize payment by cash.
No, there are two aspects to it. One, as pointed out, whether by giving confidentiality to the donor, a greater objective or greater protection, a greater public.
Larger public interest is served.
The second is partial confidentiality.
Partial.
What I said, selective confidentiality, yes, that's what my brother is emphasizing.
Because what happens is the person who's in power can have access to it.
I'll show he will not be able to. That's what
That's the gray area. The other side will not agree to it. You may say so, but the other side.
Before your lordship, my lord, if we agreed on.
Other side will not agree to it.
Yes, yes.
And coupled with, their case will be coupled with the number of cases against the opposition. You may be justified in saying there's violation of law, therefore cases are justified. Court will also say so.
There is a statutory obligation on the State Bank of India to maintain that confidentiality. You presume confidentiality before they are banks, that's all.
I'll show that. There is a confidentiality. And when, I know, my lord, what is falling from your lordship. In a raid, my lord, if in a raid, if we have to go with counting machines, not one machine, then they can.
We are not on that.
We are being victimized.
No. We are not saying that.
Yes.
Look, if you go to the court, if there is a wrongdoing, if there is
Yes,
illegality,
there are courts, my lord.
they'll obviously not support that. They'll support the right side of the law. But the issue which is raised is if there is selective confidentiality, then what happens? Third aspect which is there is just third aspect.
Yes.
Because while dealing with the first aspect itself, which is or the second aspect itself, if confidentiality is given, how do we ensure what was called the protection in one sense, quid pro quo in another by another speaker? How do we ensure that this is checked?
that I have not paid money to get a favor. Well, let me put it as plainly as possible. Well, from the scheme, I'll be able to satisfy a lot. This, my lord, concept of selective confidentiality, my lord, I'll have to remove that there is complete confidentiality. Between the two, there is none. There can be, there need not be. But the government cannot go through that, pass through that and find out from decoding whether my learned friend has given to a party and not me. That I'll be able to show from the scheme. But ultimately, my lord, you'll have to trust somewhere. Lord, for example, if everything is to be shown to say election commission, there can be a, my lord, leak. You'll have to trust somewhere. You'll have to trust somewhere.
It's not liable to give rise to, say, I mean, possibility. It's a question. It's not a hypothesis of legalizing kickbacks. Because as you rightly said, Solicitor, earlier, in the earlier scheme, what would happen is, say, a rainmaker for a political party, ABC political party. He would collect some money. He collects 50 crores. He's not going to deposit 50 crores in the coffers of the political party. He has his own share in that. Now, basically, the benefit of this, let's look at it, the positives, so to speak. The benefit of it is that you are legalizing whatever the motivation for the receipt of the funds, but now it goes to the party. It doesn't go to the individual. That's the benefit. The party gets it as opposed to the individual rainmaker who would have got it earlier. And we have no way of knowing whether this is really also legalizing the motive for the inflow of the funds.
Lord, kindly see. Just, my lord, I'll answer that, my lord, in detail tomorrow.
We got your point. I mean,
I'll just, my lord, leave one thought.
We'll reflect on it, which is your case is that, look, this is the political system, whether you like it or not. Whether we like it or not, this was the political system. This is how it operated. We have at least tried to improve upon it. The fact that we don't succeed doesn't reach out to the constitutional validity of it.
Lord,
Maybe we have not improved upon the system, but we have tried to improve upon the system.
I'm grateful. No, one thing.
That, of course, is the argument. Well, I hope your lordships are talking about his argument.
Yes, that's his argument. No, that's what his. No, we are formulating what
We can only hear.
He's also in a lighter vein.
We are very open to everything.
But not forget this
That's
scheme
why he
is.
pointed out what
it's right.
what was the regime before.
That's right.
No, my lord, forget
Do away
this.
with black money has to be the mothers. We are all on one platform on that.
Actually, there was a very simple
Yes.
which I had pointed out. If they wanted to deal
No,
with.
then you have to go to parliament.
No,
That way you can't find out
No,
here
no,
as
no.
a public interest.
You
litigation.
allow all this and distribute it amongst all the candidates. Simple.
Lord,
Allow all this.
Just one more question.
No,
Can
but
we
you
have the
cannot
data
impeach
with
the
regard
party.
to the unaccounted, that is to 20,000, now reduced to 2,000, the quantum which has been received by all the parties?
Whatever.
And how
It is there,
distributed?
my lord, in the
It's there.
compilation which I have filed, my lord, would
If
your
it's
lordship.
there, then it's fine.
But my lord, I'm just leaving a
percentage.
thought with your lordships, but I'll respond tomorrow. Lord, suppose this scheme is not in existence. I want to give a kickback. I will pay kickback, has to be, my lord, by way of
By way of cash.
cash. Now, even considering the case to be the worst, the amount will come in white money and will come in the official channel, banking channel.
But it's legalizing the kickback,
Yes.
but
No.
giving the money to the political parties as opposed to people who
would
are
still
involved in
be
the
an offense.
That's all.
It would still be an offense. I'll be able to satisfy a lot.
The difficulty may be because if it's given by the political bond or the election bond, then the issue is it's all under protected under the umbrella of confidentiality.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Well, that's
Now,
the
the first-
heart and soul of the scheme.
That's where
That's
next
the only
part of-
incentive of the scheme.
You can maintain confidentiality,
Yes.
which is to ensure, we take your point, that confidentiality is designed to ensure that people are not victimized for contributing.
And
But
incentivized
if
to
you
pay
really
back.
want- We are not saying that that would be a better scheme or that the government should adopt the scheme. That's not the point. But if you really want to have that scheme and a level playing field, then all these donations should be given to the Election Commission of India, which will then distribute it on an
That's what I
equitable
was
basis.
saying, Malad.
You will realize no donations come
That's
through.
correct. That's
Then,
correct.
then, my lord, nothing will come and
You're
everything will be by cash.
You're absolutely
what I
right.
was
That's what
saying.
exactly we said. Which shows us the motivation for these
Yeah, yeah.
donations.
Oblate.
Tomorrow we'll continue.